Hello friends, where should you live when you come to Canada? Good question. And I'm going to answer this, and specifically for Ukrainian people, but it's not only for Ukrainian people, but I will talk mostly for Ukrainian people. So if you're from Ukraine, some of the best places to live in Canada is, for example, the province where I live here in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan sounds weird for you, but you get used to it. So Saskatchewan, Manitoba and Alberta as well. They're in the prairies, what we call. It's in the middle of Canada. Here in Saskatchewan specifically, we have a lot of Ukrainian people already living here from Ukraine, from during 2022 and such. However, from before as well. I have 2 or 3 Ukrainian neighbors, and as well many people here, many Canadian people. There are Ukrainian people here because they are from back in the days. So their fathers or maybe grandfathers, they are from Ukraine. Some here grew up. They were born in Ukraine, but they grew up here in Canada, went through high school and everything. And some people, they were born here in Canada, but their fathers and grandfathers, they were from Ukraine. So they have the Ukrainian roots. They sometimes understand still a little bit Ukraine, sometimes not at all, and they speak only English, but they have, some of them still have Ukrainian traditions at home, you know, like the cooking and everything. Some not so much because they are the 3rd or 4th generation here in Canada, so they are more Canadian, but they know that their ancestors, they are from Ukraine, and they love it and they embrace it. So when you're coming here, people are more welcoming to you because many people here are from Ukraine historically, so they will accept you and they understand you from the emotional and cultural things. I mentioned before in my last video that really most Canadians are really welcoming of Ukrainian people everywhere in Canada. So here is also there are jobs here. We have resources and such. So it's a good place. The winter is tough here, it's long, but from the cultural side you have many people that are Ukrainian. So there are other places, maybe number 1 place, depends on you, is Ontario and in the area of Toronto, Greater Toronto area. So the reason for this is Ontario has the most people. So most Ukrainian people are actually, or some of the most Ukrainian people live in Ontario. However, here as well, many. So there you have many Ukrainian people. So you will find people who speak the same language like you, same culture. And Ontario has the most people. So there is the whole government, there are many jobs, especially if you have like higher education, good paying jobs. If you are a nurse, you can get certified here, or if you're a doctor, especially a nurse, doctor, you can get specifically certified here in Canada. And this is not for everything. It's usually only for nurses and doctors, maybe engineers. Then you can get a certified. Maybe you have to go 1 or 2 years again to the university and study, but afterwards you are recognized again as a doctor, as a nurse, and can work here in Canada. Nurses and doctors in Canada make good money, they do. And we still need more and more nurses, more and more doctors. That's what the government said. So there is still more work for you. Ontario, because of the population, has many hospitals, many clinics, so you will find good jobs there if you're a doctor, or like if your wife or husband is a doctor or a nurse, then you will find jobs there. So Ontario is a good place as well. Then there is the other places are like if we go west, far west into Canada. So British Columbia, many people love to go there and live there. However, in British Columbia, most foreigners are from Asian countries, China, Vietnam, Korea, and so on, Philippines. So there you have far less Ukrainian people, so you will not get the cultural support the same way like you get here in Saskatchewan or in Ontario. And also British Columbia is expensive. Ontario is the same thing. Saskatchewan is cheaper, many things are a bit cheaper here, some things are cheaper over there. But housing is really expensive in Ontario and in British Columbia. So if you do not have the money, you might want to first come here to Saskatchewan, maybe work for a few years, get a credit for being a nurse and a doctor, and then later you can move to Ontario. Many people did this before, so you're not the first one. So you can find people who will help you and employees. So then there leaves, let's say, the north. The north is just no option for you or for most people, except if you are specialized for something up in the north, because in the north there are very few people living there and there are very, very few opportunities, especially if you don't speak English. And even if you speak English and French, there are just not many jobs. They are only specific for engineering, for oil and gas, gold and such. If you don't work in those industries, you will find no job, no money there. So then it leaves two places. That is East Canada, and this is like the Maritimes. This is, we're talking about Nova Scotia, Prince Albert, Newfoundland and Labrador. It's beautiful there, but with one word, there is not much work. Really, really little work and jobs there. It's cheaper than here. The housing there is so cheap. It's really great. But if you can buy a house, but you can't find a job, it's just not an option. Right now, the economy is doing there very well. So it might change in a while. Also, most people there, their ancestors are actually from Denmark, also from Germany and Sweden, Finland and such. Less Ukrainian people. So the last one is Quebec. You might already have heard it, or if you're studying about Canada, Quebec, they speak English and French. Actually not, they speak French and some English, you know. I lived there for a really short time and it's beautiful. I like it really much. It's so green, people friendly, but most people there, their ancestors are from France or from France speaking countries. The main language there is French. Most things are written in French, sometimes only in French. So when you go to the hospital, which I went there with my ex-wife for her daughter, and we went there and I tried to read stuff there, it was all written in French. Oh, but after I told them, oh, we are speaking only English, they're okay. They translated and everything, they were helpful. But many things were actually French. So if you don't speak French, but I do know actually, and this is why I bring up Quebec, I do know that many Ukrainian people actually speak French because they've worked in France. So if you speak especially fluent French, you should maybe go to Quebec, because if most Ukrainian people, and this is for everyone, goes to Ontario, British Columbia and here Saskatchewan or other places, and only a few people go to Quebec, it means you have an opportunity, especially if you speak French. You can find more easy jobs, and because there are refugees and such from Ukraine also going to Quebec, to Montreal, you might get a job as a translator or working somewhere translating in the government or for some companies. So this is maybe a really good idea for you. So maybe you should look up online where you can find a job in Quebec, Montreal, some of the places there, Quebec City. Like I said, it's beautiful there, a bit more expensive than here. Amazing old European culture. So this is not just for Ukrainian people, it's for everyone, like I said. The tips and advices. If you want to have more advice, more tips on where to go to Canada or what to do here, just let me know, subscribe under there and write me what you want to see. Other than that, I see you in the next one. Bye.